Everybody got this, but you're in charge.
All right, thank you.
Uh-oh.
He said he had 2 hours of turbulence, and he said
Ooh.
he wanted to kiss the ground when the plane landed.
I've had that once.
Are you ready?
Recording in progress.
Well, good evening and welcome to the October 1st City Council meeting of the Federal Way City Council. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, great to see everybody here. Okay, well, this is one of the really fun things we get to do at city government. It's something that I instituted, gosh, I can't believe it's been 10 years now, that when we gave our first key to the city out. The key to the city has been historically something that we do, that I have bestowed and honored key individuals in our community that have made a lasting and significant impact in our city. We have been a city now for 34 years, and it's flown by. And many of the people that were instrumental in the creation of the city, and even long before the city became a city. I grew up here as a child. I know many people were here prior to incorporation. I remember Dynasty's Restaurant and a much more different Federal Way back in the early 1970s. And so do many people in our community. But there were other individuals in our community that felt very strongly about making us a city, and once we became a city, to make sure we became the best city we could possibly be. And we have one of those individuals with us today, and we were so honored to be able to give the key to the city to Diana Noble Gulliford. So I've got the plaque here. I'll say a few things, and then I'll go down and we'll do the awarding of the plaque here in just a few moments. A long time ago, gosh, it had to be a few years ago, I went over to where the Historical Society in the Steel Lake Annex. There's an annex there that has copies of newspapers that go back 25, 30, 35 years, whether it was the Federal Way Mirror or the Federal Way News, before you guys remember the Federal Way News. And it is interesting to go back, and I think one time I went back and I was looking at editions from like 1991 and 1992 and 1994. It's some of the same names that were involved in that. Those editions of the Mirror or the Federal Way News are still involved. One of those individuals, as I said, was Diana Noble Gulliford. Diana has served on the Planning Commission. She was a city council member. She was a longtime president and contributor and board member with the Federal Way Historical Society. She's been a friend to everyone up on this dais, including myself, has given me countless advice. But also, it is said that, showing up, being part of the conversation, giving counsel is one of those things that is just so invaluable. And I remember so many of the conversations and the interactions. Diana, frankly, I've been involved in city government. I think when I first got involved, gosh, it had to be 1991, 1992, 32 years ago. Diana was involved then. and that she was involved before that. And she is really one of the pillars of this community, one of my guiding lights, somebody that I reach out to for advice, and when she comes to the podium to give advice or to give statements, it's something that I take very much to heart. So why don't I come to the podium, and after what I'll do is I'll present the plaque to Diana, and allow her to say a few words, and then if the council members want to say something at that time, we'll go through that, okay? Because I know we all have our own special relationship with Diana. So Diana, if you would meet me at the podium. Let me go ahead and, let me read this, and this is the plaque.
Wow. A key's too big for the door.
But just right for our hearts.
It is.
Key to the City, Federway, Washington. Diana Noble Gilliford, presented October 1, 2024, by Mayor Jim Farrell. Thank you for your 40-plus years of dedication to the city you love. Your commitment to your civic duty is a shining example of what it means to be a good citizen. You've answered every call as a former council member, planning commissioner, and director of the Historical Society. You are an inspiration to all of us.
Well, thank you, everybody. This is totally unexpected. I'm kind of hoarse. I'm getting over a virus. I want to thank my husband and my kids for supporting me all these years. Actually, I started volunteering, and I think that's the heart of my message tonight is volunteers. I started volunteering in the city in the early 70s. And if you look around, you see a need that's there, and you find those needs that fit your heart of where you feel you can make a difference, but you can also volunteer your time. So I want to thank my kids and my husband, and of course, all of you, because all of you, as I see your faces, you have all volunteered in one respect or another over the decades. Some examples of volunteering that have led to good, substantial assets for our community that makes our city a good community, of course, is St. Francis Hospital. It started out with volunteers wanting to see a hospital here in Federal Way, not down in Auburn. And we were successful. Then there's also Fusion, started out with volunteers. There's the PAC, volunteers with a heart for the performing arts. How many decades did they work to make it to fruition? Many. The Farmers Market, the Historical Society of Federal Way, and last but not least, our police department, but also the Multi-Service Center. The Multi-Service Center started out with the Federal Way Community Council. That's what we had for like a local voice for Federal Way to King County. Our government was not here. Our government was at 3rd and James in Seattle, where we had to go up there and talk and plead to our commissioners issues that we had, whether it was traffic, maybe apartments, maybe it was crime. They were simple issues. We were a much smaller community, yet those issues were important. So it all began with volunteers. So keep that in mind. When you sign up for something, you are creating a foundation for something that is going to make our city a better place to live for future generations. And I think that's why I was so found donating, or my time with the Historical Society was so important, is because it captured that history for future generations, because they need to know what our history is,
while we go through this moment in time where things are changing so fast, and a lot of our history has not been digitized, it's still the printed word. So keep that in mind. That's throughout our whole country, not just Federal Way, our whole country. So I just want you to also appreciate as a volunteer that you don't have to go to Seattle anymore to speak your mind. You can come here to City Hall. You can see the mayor and our council members here. You can email them. We didn't have email. We didn't have Zoom meetings. So keep that in mind, that it's a lot easier to stay connected with your government and stay active in your government. And then, let me see here. You can be grateful. There is a need for volunteers today. The city has a list of organizations that could use more volunteers. You can serve on a city commission. What you will learn on the commission is more than what you're going to give. It's important that we have that connection of the citizens to our city council. We need that, the people that are out there working the jobs, trying to pay for a house, raising their kids, experiencing life, so that when we come forth in the commission, we can communicate that to staff and our council members with experience to show that this is what we're seeing. So it's not in a vacuum. So it's really important that we stay active and keep that in mind. So if you're looking for volunteer opportunities, the city's website has a list of them. There's also justserve.org, where you can look for volunteer opportunities according to a zip code. And I have a wish list, council and mayor. I had just three things. The first one is for the council to pass the name change of Alderbrook Park to John and Mary Connor Park. I think that is so important because it represents a fabric of our society that we know very little about, yet it is so important to expose our children and the members of our community to what these people did over 100 years ago. And it's something that they can build on later on. I'd like to see the Brook Lake Community Center building and the Interpretive Center restored to the vision of Eileen and Francis Marks. So that means to take care of our environment, have a place where our children and our children's children can enjoy a natural setting and what natural plants we have, but also learn about lessons on how we take care of our environment to save it for future generations. And then last and not least is reactivate the Friends of the Hullables. I feel that a nonprofit would be a perfect match and partner with the city to take that passion of natural preservation and history and put it to good use so that they can write grants to help the city maintain that precious area that we have here in Federal Way. It's like no other. So those are my three wish lists. I want to thank you so much for all you do, and thank you. Sorry about my voice, but it's been a pleasure to serve in the city, and I plan on being around a long time. I got things to do. Thank you.
Susan, did you want to say something?
I do. First of all, I want to thank Diana for all she's done in our community and the communities around us, because she not only has worked in Federal Way but in South King County, and I also want to say that she so deserves to have a key to the city that she helped build, because she did help build and develop our city. I want to thank you for your time on the Planning Commission, and when I saw that you weren't renewing your time, I completely understand, but I was really quite sad. And the last thing is, when you're on council, I loved having you on council because you asked such great questions.
Oh.
And sometimes you stumped staff, which is great because you made people think. And I really love that about your time on council, and thank you so much for everything you've done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Linda?
I met Diana, well, really, I moved here in '72. It was kind of like today, Boeing was on strike. And they had that big, remember that big billboard that said, "With the last person leaving Seattle, please turn out the lights"? That's when I moved here. We bought a brand-new house. Husband was a pilot in the military and a pilot for the commuter airline, and we had 3 tiny kids, and wouldn't you know, we got laid off from both jobs right after we bought the new house. It was totally panicked. However, people in the community helped. Do you know that our chamber wasn't a chamber at the time? They actually business people met in the back of Coco's. You know, that back room? That was the beginning of our Chamber of Commerce. And our multi-service center actually started, it was a food bank for the people who were laid off from Boeing. And then about 1977, there was an ad in the Federal News, Keeley, that said people who wanted to get elected to the Federal Community Council, sign up at your local elementary school. So having been a leader in my college and high school and so on, I went to all female, they taught us to be leaders, and I thought, well, I'll just go sign up. And by gosh, I got elected, didn't surprised at that, and that's where I met Diana, on the Federal Community Council, which was the precursor to the City Council. Because we had what they called runaway apartment growth. Planning was all being done in Seattle. We had cul-de-sacs in Twin Lakes that went nowhere. And so we tried to straighten that out. And then with the help of the AAUW, we actually had people who got involved and started the City Council, Federal City, Incorporation of Federal City. So from then on, we've been back and forth for a very long time. Diana, if you notice, she's not talking about herself. She's talking about your plan for your future. And so I would thank her for that, and thank you for all of the hard work you've done over all the years. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I can make a comment, you know, I haven't been with Diana as like the council, Linda has in back of Coco's and starting things, but Linda's got the example, as kids, we all grew up with the fairy tale or the thing, the tortoise and the hare. And, you know, the hare started running and the tortoise always won. And Diana's the example of the one that goes for the long haul and will always get to the finish line before the person that comes up here and says something and then goes away. I mean, she has been here, you know, we heard 40 years, and being a volunteer is for the long run. And people need to understand that and remember the experience of volunteering is the knowledge that keeps our city going. And so, as we give the key to the city, I look at the story of the slow plotter that keeps going, always gets to the finish line and wins. And I really appreciate that, because all the things that Diana's done in the city, all of us could learn from, and hopefully pass it on to the next generation of the people that sit up here, sit out there, and you know, it's a poster child of what you want as a citizen in your community. So I want to thank you.
Jack?
You know, I feel like I haven't known Diana near as long as some of these other people. I've only known her about 30 years. And and probably the last 20 years, I've really had the opportunity to work with her a lot. But she also is just the institutional memory that she has. And knowing, you know, when I've had questions about why something is the way it is, I can ask Diana, and she and she knows, and she's just been a great resource for that. But more important than that is the example that she has been of volunteerism. And that's an example that we can definitely use in the community, of volunteering, of being a servant leader, and being concerned about those around her. Thank you. Love you. You're wonderful. You definitely deserve the key to the city. You deserve a lot more than that too. So
Thank you.
Councilmember Stephen Dawson.
Yeah, I also want to say thank you so much, and you do deserve the key to the city. You've done amazing things. You have actually impacted me also, because everywhere I went, you know, when I first started serving on the council, you were always there. And I started looking for you, and you would tell me things, or you'd share information with me, tell me what to do, where to go. And you may not be aware of this, but you really did impact how I navigated. And so I want to say thank you. I'm glad you received this, and it's great to see you around, and I know you'll continue to do what you're doing. And the fact that you just gave us the link to volunteer opportunities, I mean, you're still there, you know, you're,
Still there.
yeah, so thank you so much for your continued service to our community. Thank you.
Hey, so we've got cake. We're going to do a reception, but you guys, let's do a group picture with the council. Can all the council members come down, and let's get a picture with Diana in the middle here.
Oh, okay.
Mayor, I think
Yes.
we should get Paul up here with her too.
Oh,
He's-
yeah, Paul. Let's give her a big round of applause, everybody. Okay, now that there's cake involved, let's get like 10 minutes. We got 5 to 7 now. Let's go 7:05, guys. We're going to recess till back.
That's an invitation, right?
Okay, I think it's time to call this meeting back to order. Congratulations again, Diana.
So who do you want to take this for the finance? Paul?
Yeah, got it.
Paul?
Yeah, got it. Okay, so at this time, I need to excuse Councilmember Tran. He had a flight that was delayed and had planned to be back here in time, but his the air traffic did not agree with his plans. So, exactly, and his absence is excused.
He said he kissed the ground when the plane landed.
Yeah, exactly, with turbulence, yeah. Okay, now let's move on to Mayor's Emerging Issues and Report. We'll get through this pretty quickly. Okay, as you can see here, we had a really great visit from the Hachinoa students on September 26th. I want to say a special thank you to, I know at least one Councilmember Dovey had one of the students staying over there, and I know there were many generous people in our community that had, each one of these students, I believe, had a home family that sponsored them, and we were in the conference room, they were in my office, and it was a very nice time. Hachinoa is on the east coast of Japan and is one of our sister cities. We visited them a year and a half ago. It was a great trip, and I got a very warm letter from their mayor, and it was nice to be able to see these young people, and they were just really very sweet and very thoughtful, and it was great to see them. I'd like to thank our staff. They also got to meet with Chief Wong, and I think also with the court, and it was a very nice time to talk with them about their experiences and their visit here. So that was a lot of fun. Okay, next, Bill. Okay, next we had a really a very momentous grand opening. Paul Mitchell, you might probably all remember Paul Mitchell, the older gentleman that pulls his hair into a ponytail. He was literally here in Federal Way. The old Gene Juarez salon. In fact, actually, you know who else was here? Gene Juarez. Gene Juarez himself, I remember we had the school there. This was in the properties right behind the Performing Arts and Event Center. Gene Juarez was there in honor of JP. Well, since I shook his hand and talked to him, I'll just, he's JP to us now. But anyway, it's John Paul Mitchell. And you could see him in the picture. He's right next to me. And we cut the ribbon, and this is an individual who's world famous. He was actually just on, what was that, Shark Tank on ABC that Wendy sometimes likes to watch that show. It's a very popular show about business people. And anyway, he was on there, and they are doing a school there, and Paul Mitchell and his team were there, and I think it was probably one of the biggest grand openings we've had. The Gene Juarez Salon School had been there for quite some time. And this was really a next level step for this space. And also, I have to tell you, it was really a very nice speech by Mr. John Paul Mitchell, really more about life and about how to look at things and how to, forgive people and how to think about your productivity in your life. It's actually really thoughtful and really nice. And really talked about himself, and his experience in getting where he was. Well, anyway, that's really exciting news and a development for us. And you could see the place was packed with not only people from not only dean of the school and all the students, but business people as well. So, and thanks to the Chamber of Commerce for facilitating that. You see Becca in the picture there as well. All right, next. Now, we had the Taste of Federal Way, September 28th, last Saturday. See the council president there. Many of the council members were present, and they always give you way too much food. It's this contest. So I just had little nibbles, I promise, and I brought the bulk of it back to Ben and Wendy. And that's my story. I'm sticking to it. And but anyway, you could see up in the upper left-hand corner, it was really well attended. The band was great. What's the name of the band, you guys?
Lost and Found.
Lost and Found. They were really good. Let's see here. A lot of other great food, great vendors, and it was nice. Okay, next. What's that? Okay. Okay, these are the upcoming events. The Kiwanis has its installation and awarding of the Bob Kellogg Doug Benton Award. and the Pete Von Reichberg Kiwanis of the Year Award. That's tomorrow at 11:30. The Association of Washington Cities Mayoral Exchange is going to be in Ellensburg. I'm heading over there on Thursday and then Friday coming back. And that's always good to meet with mayors from around the state. And the AWC does a great job, so I look forward to that. The Valley Cities Breakfast on October 3rd, 9 a.m., Staybridge Suites, it's right there on 320th, right alongside the freeway. That should be a great event. I think it looks like Councilmember Gramai Zalahi is, looks like he's speaking, providing pathways to recovery, fall fundraiser breakfast. So looking forward to that, 9 a.m. This Thursday. That's the day I leave for Ellensburg. Okay, next. Okay, next, some upcoming events as well. We've got the Community Caregiving Network's 23rd Annual Super Supper. It's this Friday, 5:30 to 8 p.m., Christian Faith Center. Councilmember Dovey, anything to add on that? I know you were very involved in the Super Supper and community CCN.
The only thing I would add is if you think back of what we talked about, volunteerism and how important it is with what Diana has done over the years. This is an organization that started in the very early days of Federal Way, and it has continued by volunteers, and it feeds many people in the city, helps with rent, and it's a program that is great. And we all remember Hope Elder.
Oh, yeah.
And she was one of the founding people. I say founding person of this, but she always had the soup bowls there. And so this is an event that I think everybody that has a chance to attend it'd be great. We'd love to have you there, and it really is one of those bedrock community volunteer groups that helps our citizens.
That's right. All right. Thank you. All right. The Master Builders have a tree building event on Saturday, October 5 at Steel Lake. I think it's a tree dedication at Steel Lake at 9 a.m. That's this coming Saturday. We've got the Career Fair at Adelaide Elementary School on October 10th. I believe that's is that next Monday? No, that'd be next Thursday. Thank you very much. Next Thursday at 1:30 p.m. That's always a lot of fun. It's kind of funny to have a career fair at elementary school, but it's really fun to see those little kids and myself. I think someone from Public Works is going to be there too, right? I think they're more into trucks than they are mayors, but it's still fun to be there. It's always great to see the little ones. All right, next.
Or video games.
Or video, exactly. Okay, so we've got,
We have the meet and greet, also the same October 5th.
that's right, that's the next slide after this one. Okay, Mayor's Month of Concern for the Hungry. We've got the food drive. I want to just say, you guys, Bill Vidino just does such a good job. You know what Bill's been working on, you guys? The grocery stores on here had not been confirmed, and Bill Vidino, right behind the podium here, has reached out repeatedly to Fred Meyer, who's always a great partner, the grocery outlet, the new one on Dash Point, and the Safeway, got them all confirmed, and we're going to have a great food drive on Saturday, October 12th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. I know the council always goes. I want to say the food bank with the Multi-Service Center is always very involved in that, and so I want to thank them, and it really is a lifeline for our community, especially as we start getting into the fall. Okay, then Waste Management has the food collections starting from the week of October 7th through 11th. And again, that's part of their annual food drive. I want to thank Waste Management for their big hearts and big trucks, which grab all this food. And we'll get all the totals for you about how much food that turns out to. All right, next. All right, and there we go. Council President, you want to talk about this one?
Well, thank you. Councilmember Hunt and Councilmember Walsh and I have been meeting with the school board directors, and we've set up this kind of a town hall for you, but it's more of just a meet and greet on October 5th from 10 to noon at the Starbucks right in front of the Safeway on 320th.
We are doing a hygiene drive there for the students in pretty much the high schools and junior high, so small bottles of shampoos and soaps and anything you think that a child could use that they might not have. People do school drives, but they don't do hygiene drives, and this is something that the schools have asked us to do.
And we had a hard time trying to get this going in the very beginning when we had our first meet and greet with them. And you know what? They enjoyed it so much they asked for this one this time. So come on over and meet the school board directors as well as your council members.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for your work there and the collaboration with our partners with the school district. Okay, that concludes my report. Thank you once again, Bill. And we're going to go right into public comment. The most important thing we do is to listen to you, our neighbors and our friends, to hear your thoughts. Our first speaker is going to be Dave Kaplan with the Port of Seattle. And I do want to say a big thanks to Dave again, to Bill again, who's been coordinating efforts in regard to airplane noise. Anyway, Dave, the floor is yours, sir.
Well, thank you. Mr. Mayor and council members, Dave Kaplan, Local Government Relations with the Port of Seattle and recovering elected official. Just wanted to confirm that you received an email from me a couple Fridays ago. I usually send them out 5 days in advance of commission meetings, commission agenda and other notables. And among the notables was our announcement giving you the 30 days heads up that we had promised relative to the publication of the Sustainable Airport Master Plan, near-term projects, National Environmental Policy Act, environmental assessment. The draft of NEPA EA will be out on October 21st, and that'll be the first opportunity for the public to be able to take a look at the analysis of the SAMP projects, 31 SAMP projects that are being put forward, including, by the way, one project, the Taxiway AB project, which, if the commission approves, will allow for the raising of the glide slope and raise the approach northbound on the long runway over Federal Way. The NEPA EA evaluates the potential impacts of the projects and provides an opportunity for public input. And I'll be reaching out to Bill and the mayor to find a council meeting date to present on the substantive portion of it, which I think may be November 6th. And the Port Commission will be briefed on October 22nd, the day after the public data publication. Very much encourage you to watch the commission meeting or be able to attend. It'll be held at the SEA Conference Center in SeaTac at the airport. But you'll receive a lot of information there regarding what's come out of the analysis. Public meetings are scheduled for November 13th, 14th, and 16th, with detailed information on the time and location being shared in the near future. Public comment will be open from October 21st to December 5th, and public comments will be taken during that period of time at one of the public meetings, via email, or at the SAMP website, beginning October 21st. Any comments prior to that won't be on the record, so it's important to do that. Also, if I may, we appreciate the city's interest in having a public meeting. The three cities where the public meetings are scheduled, Burien, Des Moines, and SeaTac, all fall within the general study area of the NEPA environmental assessment, and meetings are open to anyone. And we planned a lot of information to be available virtually online as well at the website. We appreciate your concern. Executive Director Metrick received the request Monday from Mayor Farrell asking for a public meeting to be held in Federal Way. And we don't have further update tonight to the mayor's request, but we will be gathering more information to give it consideration. It's not solely the port's decision, and we will follow up with the city, so.
All right, well, please tell the Admiral we said pretty please. And it's all obviously very important. It does obviously affect so many of our people. And I, as you know, Dave, how long were you on the Des Moines City Council?
16 years.
16 years. And actually, Dave and I worked together back in the Washington State Senate back 31 years ago now.
Or more, yeah.
All right, anyway, I just want to say thank you so much for your service. You've been really, I know that when you were on the council, we worked on some transit issues and we worked on a number of issues. I can't think of a better person to be an advocate and a liaison to our community. So I want to say thank you very much.
Well, that's kind of you. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Dave. Okay, and we'll, we're going to continue to advocate for that. I included the council in that email. I did ask the CEO of the port, who is an admiral, a retired admiral in the Coast Guard, and it would be nice to have an extra meeting here in Federal Way to have our citizens be able to weigh in, but we're working on that. It's a work in progress. Okay, now, additional comments. Willie Smith.
Good evening, Mayor, and Board President, and members. This is a follow-up from last week. I was looking at the flag protocol. I'm just going to try to wrap this up real quick. I did this research on my own. I was told that prior to me getting here in 2007, those flags along Campus Drive were put in for, I think, a pre-Olympic ceremony or some sort. And many citizens have said they look really, really nice along Campus Drive and the Aquatic Center. The issue now is there's overgrowth, lots of overgrowth, even on the Glen Park side. And when I talked to the Glen Park representative, they want to know what the city's going to do. I told them that's not my call, I can't answer that. But they also asked if the city does something with the flags, are they responsible? That's not my call. I don't know. The military members I've talked with, they like the flags, but they're concerned with the overgrowth. My limited research, as I look at it, I said, that's going to be a tough one, mainly because where Glen Park is, there's a lot of overgrowth from Glen Park side and the city side. At where they swim, there's growth on both sides. I don't know the answers. So where am I leading up to? Sean Rigney, who's now a policeman, he used to help maintain the flags. There was community service, and they would go in and exchange the flags. I don't know what that costs and the impact, but because the flags look so nice, people are asking, does everyone know the flag protocol? How does the military feel? And I can't answer it. I really can't answer. I know it's going to cost probably a lot of money to fix it. So what I'm going to lead the board with and citizens is probably need to decide what's the most cost-effective route and proceed. Now, in saying that, the other issue is half staff. If the the governor says bring the flags at half staff, that's 50 flags. I don't know how you can do it. I really don't. I really don't. So what if it don't go to half staff and the other flags are? People are going to ask, why? I don't know the answers to that either. Again, the flags are really, really nice, really, really nice, and that's my limited research. I'll leave it with that. I don't have the answers. I wish I did, but thank you for giving me the opportunity to look into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. And I do want to let you know that this is something that we've been working on. In fact, actually, we went out there myself, Brian, John Hutton, our Parks Director. These were originally put in, with the, it was Lynn Scow with the Seroptimus, and the flagpoles were really a part of that big project. And back in 1990, or right around when the pool opened. And so the poles and the flagpoles were donated to the city of Federal Way. So, and we actually just cleaned up all those poles, and we were in the process of, fixing a lot of the state, the donors, the card, location about who supported a particular pole. And then many of those poles had not been cleaned for years. So we got all of them cleaned up. And then what we did is we had, one by one, we sent our people up to sort of create space around them. The alternative, eventually there's going to be a major project in there, and that's probably when many of those trees are going to get taken out. But in the alternative, that will take millions of dollars to pull those trees out. We don't necessarily want to do that yet. So John, how long ago was that we went out there and got all fixed up and cleaned up?
It was last spring prior to Flag Day.
And EJ, our Public Works Director, was up there as well. But it's something that we're working on, and please know that it's in our, we replace the U.S. flags and the state flags yearly. and it's something that we want to make sure that we maintain appropriately. And in fact, actually, we're honor bound and contractually bound to do so when we receive those. We made an agreement that we would do so. So, well, thank you very much for that.
Understand. Thank you both. Thank you
Appreciate
all. Okay.
Okay, Anna Patrick. Hey, John, would you, is it John or EJ? Is this a city's facility? Wait, let's talk about that tomorrow. Maybe we need to go out and take a look at them again. And for the coming spring. Doesn't hurt to maybe the three or the four of us go out there again. Okay, very good. Anna?
Evening, Mayor, Council. I attended the Human Services Commission meeting, public hearing yesterday, and I would just like to share some of the comments that I shared there. And so, just looking at the list of what they plan to fund or ask you guys to fund, had some concerns. One of the things that I was concerned about was the day center. I know you've heard about it. It's been pretty bad this past week. I don't know what's going on. Thought we were going to start kind of working on that agreement that we have and enforcing that. So not sure what's happening there. And I really don't think it's a good idea to fund the day center if they're not abiding by that, because that creates a conflict. So either we figure out what to do about that and enforce it before the vote, or we figure out what that's going to look like. And a lot of these things that are budgeted here, there are people getting funds, or these organizations are getting funds from other entities. And so I feel like we're doubling up when we could be putting those funds somewhere else. Especially some of the well-known organizations that have a good reputation in our city for serving youth and serving all youth, and the drug addiction, those other things that we have going on. I do like that there's healthcare things here. But I also want to ask you to take a look at, the legal funding, the funding of lawyers. Who are they representing? And what's the goal there? And does that set the rest of us up to have to go out and get lawyers, protect ourselves against the lawyers that you're funding? So also, just wanted to ask about YouthLink. I guess they had a conference at Highland Community College this past week. Tried to ask about it, but I guess for some reason my email was blocked. I'm going to try to keep getting it. But there's a big report, that's 2024 report. I highly recommend you look at it. And I don't know what's happening with youth. We don't have youth action team. What are we doing with the gang violence and such? Do we have plans to join back up with YouthLink? I don't know what's happening there. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Actually, there's been a lot. Actually, I walked by the day center yesterday. We drive by it every day. Brian, you were going to meet with their leadership, right? Or did you do that yesterday?
Yeah, we're setting up a time to meet. Normally, we have success contacting the staff that is inside the day center during their hours. Clearly, that hasn't happened in the last month or so, and so we're meeting with their executive director here. We're trading phone tag right now, but we'll set up a time to meet and discuss this issue as we have before with them. And when we've had a pretty good response from them. But I think there's, if it's vacationing staff or sick staff, but something is not happening as we have agreed to before, so we're going to get right on it.
It's not good. Like I say, we've watched this very carefully. Keith, can you give an update on what code compliance is up to and your communications? I know that Christina's gone over there a few times.
So yes, code compliance has been out, I want to say twice last week and so far once this week. They do discuss with the on-site staff expectations for keeping the property cleaned up, and it's the continual kind of conversation and keeping an eye on it. It does make a difference.
It does. EJ, can you talk about, you had some of your staff, much of your staff, involved with taking debris by the garbage. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, we our litter crew goes out and addresses hotspots every morning. This is one of the sites that, whether we receive comments or not, we are out there 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, typically before businesses open. So this past Monday, there was a significant amount of debris there. Without getting into too many details, we filled a dump truck with debris off the road. So we continue to go out there every morning, and we'll continue to as long as it takes.
Right. I walked by yesterday, I noticed a significant amount of debris at that location. Chief, what are your efforts out there? And I know, your folks go by there every day.
What we're doing at the police department regards to 13th Avenue South, we're enforcing the no parking on public street. So very seldom you'll see vehicles parked there because we are taking enforcement. We are also issuing tickets for shopping cart violation. And any public right-of-way, if there's camping that's going on occupation, we're also enforcing trespass laws with any businesses who have trespass letter with us.
Okay. So, and as you can see, it's a multidisciplinary approach to this issue. Councilmember Honda, did you have a question or a comment?
My comment is, with all the interventions that we seem to be doing, it's not helping. So there has to be something else that can be done to encourage the day center to keep it clean and not allow people to camp there and live there. There has to be something that can be done. It's just not acceptable.
I agree. And we want them to help people, but obviously they need to do that in a correct way. So that's what, we're taking it all the way to the top, our top and their top, and we're gonna talk about that. I learned a long time ago, I was talking to staff about this. I was, as you know, I was a prosecutor for a long time. And I learned a long time ago, don't threaten something you're not perfectly willing and ready to do. Don't say something unless you're willing to do it. And so closing this facility would be a very serious step. And so we're not there yet, but they do need to make sure that they carry their own weight and don't impinge on our community. But we're not quite there, and I don't want to necessarily threaten that. It's implied because of the licensure, but they do help so many people. We want to help them help these other people. So that's the posture we're in right now, and we don't want to have to do that, but we can't let this continue either. Councilmember McDaniel?
Yeah, two comments. One, I was at the Link conference, and I'll talk about that later today, so I was actually there. And the second one is, I sat in on the Human Services conversation on that. There is some rules that they have to follow that I did not know until I was in that meeting, and there's a couple things I think council will do to make it easier for them when it comes to some of the limitations they have. They can't just say no to anybody. It's illegal for them. So there is some limitations they have the council doesn't have, so. Yeah, I just want to make sure people understood that.
What about this lawyer issue? Can anybody, this funding of the lawyers, can you?
So I don't want to just provide the schedule to the council.
Yeah.
Because the council does not have the Human Services recommendations yet. It is going to FEDRAC this month, and then potentially from FEDRAC, depending on how it goes at FEDRAC, it will then come to the full council for consideration. But the commission has deliberated on the applications. There are 38 proposed recipients of grant applications, both from general fund and from CDBG. But that hasn't come to you guys yet, which is why you don't know anything yet, other than Councilmember McDaniel, who sat in on a Human Services Commission meeting. So that will be at committee next week, I believe, and so maybe the week after. Sorry, I'm a little foggy on dates. So soon, next FEDRAC meeting. So just kind of hold on, and I think you're going to get the presentation, and we'll have an opportunity for questions at that time.
Okay, great. Does that answer your question, Paul?
Yeah.
All right, Council President.
So part of what I think is going on there is, it's not just on the sidewalk, the public right-of-way, but they're when I drive by, it's also on their grass, it's on their private property. And so I don't know how you can enforce getting the litter debris off the private property. But at any rate, when I went in, personally went into the day center to talk to the young women at the desk, or the young people at the desk, they're not really the decision makers. They're just saying yes, yes, yes. You really have to go to the top.
Yep,
Yeah, thanks.
agreed. Councilmember Walsh?
Yeah, I think that the chief said something about trespassing if they have a trespass letter. The property owners issued a trespass letter. And I think that, personally, I think that we need to let the day center know that if they want our continued support, they need to have be willing to trespass people who show up with all of their stuff there. And have that letter on file so that we can enforce it. If the people show up without all of their stuff, then, hey, the day center should be able to help them. But if they show up with their stuff, then they should be trespassed, and so the police can take action.
All right,
And I think that it needs to be that contingency.
All right, thanks, sir. Councilmember Dovey?
I just have one comment. I've made it a kind of a mission to drive by there after every council meeting, every time I'm in City Hall, just to observe after hours. And we all know that it's not a place we'd want any of our children to be at or any of our friends, because it's pretty rough. If everybody left here and drove by tonight, I'm sure it would be just like it has been every other night. And we hear a lot about we got to close it down and we got to do this, but there's a lot of ramifications in that. And I'm not supportive of what's going on there at all, but I just urge that we use some real good common sense and don't block us into a situation where all of a sudden somebody else can open something on Pack Highway because that one's not here, because it falls in within the mileage zones. And so there's a lot of things going on besides what we see, and we do have to help those drug-addicted, unhelped people. I hear that every night when we hear from the people here, but there's a lot of things going on that I just hope that we're gonna have to be really, really thoughtful so we don't have another whack-a-mole pop up somewhere.
Well, thank you all for your counsel. We'll talk about this individually as well. It's a work in progress. Thank you. And we'll deliver that message again. Okay, Juan Juarez Ramos. Then Ken Blevins, then Selena Taylor, then Dara Mandeville.
What about building a fence around?
It's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea.
Hello, Mayor Farrell, Council President Coach Moore, and members of the council. I got to be first before Ken. I don't know if people were here before the meeting started, but we raced to go with Stephanie to turn in our pink slip. But I first want to talk to you today about the day center. I know it's getting growing, and it's truly unfortunate what's going on. I understand the purpose of the day center. It's to help those who are unfortunate. But it's the people who run the day center are not being completely transparent to the city council and to the citizens of Federal Way. Instead of shutting down, we should instead just freeze the money that we're giving them and demand more transparency from them. It's obvious they're not doing the jobs that they're supposed to be doing. It's urgent that we freeze the money instead of just shutting them down, to reform it. That's pretty much all we wanted to say. No crying this time, I guess. But I did notice Sunday that someone from the day center had an upside-down American flag flowing around. As someone who, Mexican-American immigrant came to this country, my family, my mom, came to this country from Michoacan, Mexico, lived in the American dream, I am disgraced and disgusted to see that. My parents are living the American dream, owning a household here. They are grateful every single day to live here. I am grateful every single day to live here as well. To seeing that in our city, our upside-down American flag flowing around, is truly, truly disrespectful, and we must do something to this day center. We can't just sit around and wait for a meeting to come up all of a sudden. We should demand action now. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, Ken Blevins.
I gotta let those young people in here first. So, Ken Blevins, 52-year resident of Federal Way. Thanks, Mayor and Council, for listening to me. And I came here to speak about the day center as well. It just seems to me like, I mean, Jack drives by there. I know probably at least a half a dozen people are here, drive by. We share the pictures and stuff like that. There's a day center, a daycare right across the street from this, children. And if these people were just coming there to actually get help, and then they give them help, and then they go to where they needed to get help, I would be for this. That's not what's going on. This is a place where it's attracting people that are outside of Federal Way. These aren't Federal Way homeless people. If this is a regional thing that you want and that you expected, because every person that I've talked to that was part of this, opening it up, they were very proud to be a part of Federal Way and wanting to actually help people. This is not what they were looking to do, okay? This is a drug-addicted free-for-all at the day center. So you don't get to come into our city and get dropped off here or brought here by Seattle or Tacoma or whatever and throw your worst that you have, that people that need help that we have, they're not helping these people. How are they helping them? Were they letting them use a phone, maybe shower or whatever that is? What is that going to help them in that one day? And then they're going to go outside and there's drugs being sold and done right in front of the day center. So if you're a drug addict, or you have a kid that's a drug addict, you want your kid to go to where the drugs are? No. That's what we're doing. That's what you guys are going to fund this activity. It's not what you thought they were going to, that you want to feel good about helping people. Let's actually help them. And the day center's not doing it. Catholic Community Services is not doing their job, and the Archdiocese is not controlling the Catholic Community Services. So why? I'm Catholic, and I say defund that. We should not be paying for it because you're responsible for it. The council, you're all responsible for what's going on there every day. And when somebody dies over there, that's on you. You funded that. So if we can defund them and then let them figure out how to do it, then that's the best case we can do. And then if they can get things up to par and play what we want in Federal Way, which is actually helping people, then let's fund them. But at this point, they're not doing it. They're saying that our police can't even go on there and enforce anything on there. So we're going to do the street, but when are they going to actually tell these people, you can't be there at night and light fires? So that's what I've noticed lately. They're going to light a fire, and someone's going to light a fire. It's going to get into the bus system. There's gas over there. It's going to go across the street. There's a lot of things. There are businesses here that are at stake. And you guys are responsible for this. So yes, it goes uphill. But please be responsible on how you're doing this. You can unfund them, defund them, and then force them to do what you want them to do. Not like, I hope they do, and we will feel better about it. It's not about feelings. Let's take care of Federal Way. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Selena Taylor, and then Dara.
Good evening, Jim Farrell and all of the city council. Appreciate you guys so much. What I'm here to talk about is I am a member of Word of Truth Ministries, which they were in Tequila. However, we actually moved to Federal Way. We actually got a building right around the corner from here, which is 2 minutes away from here. It's on 333rd Street. We are a new facility, which we are launching our grand opening, which is October 13th at 12:30. It's 200 South 333rd Street. And we are all about mission. We're all about changing this community. And we're excited about Federal Way. We are excited about bringing different things to change this community. I'm hearing a lot about what needs to be changed, and being the fact that we are a new location here, we're just excited about loving families. We are excited about changing the different dynamics when it comes to Federal Way residents. We're actually called a hub, and the building is actually around the corner. It has a lot of different rooms in this one particular building, but we are actually strategically planning and implementing things into this hub. And we are called the Kingdom in Neighborhoods Network. And we're collaborating, we're networking, we are actually providing services to a lot of these families. And we're actually excited about partnering with a lot of different organizations, partnering with churches, partnering with the city council, partnering with a lot of other different people that are in Federal Way. Core values are reaching, mending, teaching, and sending. And so we are here to love the community, and we're excited about this launch, and we're inviting you to be a part of this hub on October 13th, 2024 at 12:30 at 200 South 333rd Street. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Selena, can you send the council more information so we have it on our calendars?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Now, Dara Vanderbilt.
Good evening. Couple different things. Congrats to Diana. I know that you've been a great resource of information for me, and I know so many other people in the community, so thank you. And you're not going anywhere. Nice try. So a couple of things. I don't want to keep beating the day center issue, but just a couple different things. So I was also at the meeting last night. And I know that we can't do anything to fix the process, but one of my questions that I brought up to the commissioners was, and I know I looked at the stuff from last night. They said it's going to FedRAC on the 8th, and then it's supposed to be here on the 15th. So I'm just giving you this information, so hopefully when you look at the materials, when you receive them, you can look over these things. A few things that I noticed, one was the legal thing. We're funding something for, because I write the checks, it's the city, something in Kent, the city of Kent. And of course, the day center, 50 grants to the day center. A lot of the organizations that are, a few of the organizations that are listed on there, I've actually been to and worked alongside as a volunteer in healthcare. And they're not all great organizations. But the one thing that actually, the report about filling up a dump truck on Monday in front of the day center kind of made me chuckle a little bit, because I think it was about 2 years ago that we sat here arguing back and forth, you and I, Mayor Farrell, about there were some people in the community who cleaned out a camp and filled up a dump truck worth of garbage and were threatened with arrest because of that, but because of the stuff that they left for the city to pick up. What community members do free work and clean up their city because they are, it's our city, but then we can pick up a dump truck worth of garbage from a business. And so it's not okay. The flag thing I actually saw with my own eyes this weekend, and that actually really bothered me. It's not okay. And then Linda said something about the grassy area. I have pictures, but on Monday evening, it was the grassy area in front of the day center, the grassy area in front of the public health building, and the grassy area in front of the bus barn, which goes to Ken's thing. Something bad's gonna happen. There's a lot of fuel at that bus parking lot. So, and my biggest concern, the daycare across the street. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. Okay, that's what I've got for public comment. Do we have anything online? Anybody on the phone?
No, Mayor, I do not.
Okay. All right, well, thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Okay, now we are on to item 6, presentations. Oh, before we, one of our earlier speakers was Mr. Will Smith. Mr. Smith, I want to thank, Councilmember Honda told me that you're a retired staff sergeant, and I want to thank you for your service and for your concern about our flags. Thank you, sir. Okay, now we're on to presentations. Item A, proclamation for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, October 2024. Councilmember Honda?
Thank you. I'd like to invite Janet Chance to the podium. Janet has been a long-time member of Federal Way Task Force on Domestic Violence and has worked in this area for many, many years with her experience in the courts. And as I said in Kent at our DV meeting last month, she's one of my heroes for what she's done. So, proclamation, Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whereas domestic violence is a serious crime that affects people of all races, ages, gender, and income levels. And whereas, according to the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs, police respond to about 50,000 domestic violence calls every year in Washington and about 2,100 domestic violence calls every year in the city of Federal Way. Whereas, with a significant number of calls responded to by police, 70% of domestic violence goes unreported. Whereas, although men and children can be victims of domestic violence, it is committed mostly against women and is the leading cause of injury to women between the ages of 15 and 44 in the United States. And now therefore, we, the undersigned mayor and city council members of the city of Federal Way, do hereby proclaim October 24th as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we urge citizens to recognize the critical problem of domestic violence, work to prevent domestic violence, and continue efforts to eliminate this crime.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you, Mayor, council members. Once again, Domestic Violence Month. I'm sorry to be on a sad note when we were experiencing such a wonderful event as volunteering, but I'll begin. Domestic violence is a serious crime. Affects people all income, races, ages, gender, often happening behind closed doors, privacy of their own homes, making it difficult to detect until it escalates when the police are involved. These 911 calls are one of the most dangerous for our officers, not knowing what the problem is, whether there's weapons, hostages, children involved. I became aware of this tragic event when I first began working for the judicial system some 40, 50 years ago. That's why all the gray wrinkles here. But watching the system come before the court, it broke my heart. There were two people who used to once love each other, spitting out nasty words, watching the tears coming down the cheeks of the kids who love both their parents, knowing they're going to have to choose who to stay, who to go home with. Domestic violence is truly a tragedy, and until you witness the hurt in a family, you do not understand. We have a domestic violence task force that's been in effect for many, many years. We continue to partner with the Federal Way schools, doing our best to educate our children on what to look for in relationships. CHI Franciscan has once again volunteered to print our dating violence pamphlets. Once these are printed, I'll be delivering them to our high schools, as well as our police department, our city hall, and our libraries, and we'll leave some in our city hall down in the library in the lobby. You're welcome to come pick up at any time. Should be within the next couple weeks. Although the pandemic put a hold on our getting out to the public, with the continued support from our police force, our high school counselors, and with our partnering with CHI Franciscan, we're determined to continue to do our best to rid the disease within our community and bring about positive changes. Give your kids, the ones who love you, a big hug tonight. Love shouldn't hurt. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet.
You bet. Mayor, if I may say, I was with the, volunteering with the Day Center when it first began 15, 20 years ago. At that time, it was absolutely wonderful. We were able to take care of some of the people who were come in, get their showers, get something to eat, go out. We had resources for employment for them, It was truly remarkable and something we were very, very proud of. So I'm really, really sorry to hear what seems like is happening to it. So I hope it gets corrected.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the work you do. Okay, next we have a proclamation for Hispanic Heritage Month, September 15th through October 15th. Councilmember Sefa Dawson.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I do this, I just want to acknowledge that as we all know, our city is really growing in diversity, and we have a lot of people coming here. So with the Hispanic population, as they grow larger in our community and their presence is also well-known, I want to acknowledge and say thank you to the agencies that also are here and following that population to serve in what's important in their very own language, something that's culturally relevant and very supportive. So I just wanted to say thank you to both organizations, because we've talked about organizations that started small because there was a need earlier, and this is also another example of that. So I would like to invite Jacqueline Garcia Castillo, Executive Director of Mujer al Volante, and then Karen Calvo, Government Benefits Navigator of El Centro de la Raza. So with that, here is the proclamation. Whereas Hispanic Heritage Month celebrates the Hispanic and Latino community and highlights its countless achievements, and whereas Hispanic Americans represent a significant and fast-growing demographic of the city of Federal Way, and whereas the Hispanic Heritage Observance began in 1968 as the Hispanic Heritage Week, commemorating, first introduced by Congressman George E. Brown in June 1968 under President Lyndon Johnson, and whereas Hispanic Heritage Observance was expanded by President Ronald Reagan in 1988 to cover a 30-day period starting on September 15 and ending on October 15. And whereas this year's theme is Pioneers of Change, Shaping the Future Together, encapsulating the spirit of innovation, resilience, and unity that define Hispanic culture. And whereas Hispanics have enhanced and shaped our national character with centuries-old traditions that reflect the multi-ethnic and multicultural customs of their communities, while adding their own distinct and dynamic perspectives to the story of this community. Now therefore, we, the undersigned mayor and city council members of the city of Federal Way, do hereby proclaim September 15 to October 15, 2024 as Hispanic Heritage Month, and encourage citizens of Federal Way to honor and celebrate Hispanic contributions and culture. Signed this first day of October 2024. So while I come there, if you want to say something, please do so.
Thank you so much, Council Lydia, and good evening, Mayor and Council members. I'm Jacqueline Garcia from Mujer al Volante, Women Driving. We are very honored to be here tonight to celebrate this important month of the Hispanic Latino heritage. And what we do is to support and help immigrant, refugee, asylee women and mothers to get a driver's license and become more independent, and unlocking opportunities for them to get a job and studying and taking care of their families is our mission here in Federal Way. We are an organization serving a very diverse number of communities, including Ukrainian, Afghan, Arabic-speaking, and other countries from Africa as well. So we are trying to help as many mothers in need we can. So I'm gonna ask you to support from the city to our organization, Mujer al Volante. Please keep us in mind because we need your support. We are being here in Federal Way for several years now, and we would like to collaborate with you and also inviting you to come to our office. We have different events and we have different cohorts every month, so you can come and learn more about our work and why it's important to have responsible drivers on the streets, because we are sharing roads and we have to make sure that everybody stays safe out there, and Mujer al Volante is doing that for the immigrant, refugee, and asylee low-income women and mothers. Thank you.
Good afternoon, honorable members of the Federal Way City Council. My name is Karen Calvo. I'm the Government Benefits Navigator based in our Federal Way office. On behalf of our entire El Centro de la Raza community, we express a profound mil gracias for this proclamation, which is a beautiful gesture of our support to our Latino community. As was shared through the proclamation, the Latino community is a vital part of the cultural, economic, and political life of our region. El Centro de la Raza, which we translate as the center of people of all races, continues its commitment to serve the people of King County and work for equity, justice, and a dignified life for all people. We provide a variety of services to our community. We help local residents with accessing government benefits such as healthcare, veteran benefits, energy assistance, homeless prevention, unemployment, and Social Security benefits. We are also in relationship with Federal Way Schools to support young people's academic success and social development. We commenced our services just prior to the onset of the COVID pandemic, and our operations have consistently expanded since then. Recently, we assumed ownership of the Patterson Skate Rink, which we have rebranded as El Centro Skate Rink to ensure its ongoing function as a family-oriented recreational facility. Looking ahead, we aim to enhance our community presence by providing programs and resources for seniors, as well as housing assistance for the Federal Way area. Our vision is to establish a community hub that supports small businesses and creates inclusive gatherings for all individuals. In this manner, El Centro de la Raza, representing the Center for All Races, is actively contributing to the beloved community envisioned by Dr. Martin Luther King. We are privileged to receive this proclamation in recognition of Hispanic Heritage Month. Thank you.
Okay. She wants the picture over there. Yeah.
Should we, Council, should we stand?
Might as well.
Yeah, please.
I think if she doesn't block me. Congratulations.
All right. All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay, thank you very much. All right, now we are on to update on former Valley site on First Avenue. Keith Niven, just briefly.
Good evening, Mayor, Council President Coach Mar, and City Council members, Keith Niven, Community Development Director. I was asked to provide an update of what's happening on the Bally's property. So Bally's is, the old Bally's Fitness Club. It's at the southeast corner of First Avenue South and South 328th, approximately 6 acres in size. Back in 2022, there was a group interested in buying the property, but they realized that the likelihood of anybody coming in and doing what was allowed in the existing zoning was really low. And so they asked the city if we would rezone the property to multifamily. And there was a lot of conversation that happened between the city and the potential buyer. And ultimately, we ended up rezoning the property and executing a development agreement. And probably the biggest thing that was discussed between the community and the city and the developer was whether or not those housing units that we're going to locate on this property were going to be ownership or whether they were going to be rental. And so as you look at the property now, the building is gone. There's a pile of rebar and concrete that's kind of amassed in the middle of the property, and the rest of it's pretty much gone. And so what it's going to make way for is this project, which is 133 townhouse-type residential units. They're going to range between 1,490 square feet and 1,741 square feet. There's going to be a clubhouse and parking. These are elevations of what those buildings are going to look like. This property, when we originally negotiated the rezone, was with a company called Intracorp. Intracorp has sold it to D.R. Horton, and I reached out to D.R. Horton's project manager and I asked a couple questions that I thought the council would be interested in. One, are these going to be rental or ownership units? And they are going to be ownership units, so these will be condominiums. I asked them if they knew what the price point was going to be, because I figured you guys would be curious. And they said it's too early to tell. With mortgage rates changing and other things going on, they said they will know in about a year. So about this time next year, we'll know what these units are going to go for. And so all of that is, I think, really good news, and it's turning out the way we had hoped.
What's the name? Could you repeat the name of the ownership again?
So the builder is D.R. Horton.
Yeah.
It is not Horton Hears Who. So they are a national builder. They are a big builder. They've gotten most of their permits. There's still a few permits left to issue. But my guess is now that the old fitness center is down, that you will see some construction. They do earthwork first, put in the wet utilities like water, sewer, and stormwater, and then you'll start seeing foundations and buildings come up after that.
Councilor McDaniel?
Just one correction. I'm looking at, it's going to be 3 stories high is what the average build's going to be, it looks like?
Yeah, so basically it's a tuck-under garage. So the garage, you can see what's happening is garage is on the first floor. Your entryway is also on the first floor, so you come in and you'll go up a flight of stairs. And so that first floor above the garage is really your first living floor. And then the floor above that is where your bedrooms are. And so you have your living room and usually like a bathroom on that first floor with your kitchen. And then upstairs, probably a couple bedrooms and a couple baths.
Just out of curiosity, for zoning purposes, is that classified as a 3-story, or is it the living space is what we look at for zoning purposes?
So the way that the zoning code works is it's height to rooftop. So there's a maximum amount that's allowed in terms of kind of base grade of the building to the top of the roof.
Okay.
And that's governed by the zoning code.
And then anything you do in between that 2 spaces is on the builder?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Honda?
Thank you. Well, I'm excited to hear that it's ownership, because when we passed, when we talked about this, and Councilman just reminded me it was 2 years ago, it was not going to be ownership at that time. It was going to be rental with working towards ownership. So I'm excited that it's going to be ownership right out of the gate, so.
I think we definitely, got lucky because D.R. Horton doesn't do rental. So when Intracorp chose to sell the project and sell it to someone who does builder ownership stuff, it just worked out really well, I think, for the city.
Do you know if they have any other developments like this in the area that we could go look at if we were curious?
I'll check into that.
Okay.
I will ask.
Thank you.
D.R. Horton built the houses right by Steel Lake on the corner. So they just finished up that and sold them all out.
They've been in Federal Way. I'm not sure if they've done any townhouses, but they've built in Federal Way.
Remind me the number of units?
133.
133, okay. All right, that's great. I know, it was great to see that old structure come down. It was pretty, it was bad.
It was a graffiti opportunity.
Right, exactly. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so now we're on to item 7, Council Committee and Regional Committee reports. Parks, Recreation, Human Services, and Public Safety Committee, Councilmember Walsh.
In honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, yo no tengo nada de decir en cuanto a nuestro committee, y vamos a reunirnos la semana que viene. There's not much to report here. We'll be meeting next week, a week from tonight, on October 8th, and have a number of things on the agenda for then. So, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, Land Use and Transportation, LUTC, Councilmember Dobie.
Yes, our next meeting is October 7th, and I'm told the first 3 chapters of the 800-page book will be what we're going over. When you read a little further, you learn a lot about bike trails and things like that. But anyway, we'll have the overview, be shorter than the second meeting, and I'm just setting the stage, which will be November 3rd. That's when the whole 800 pages needs to be consumed, because we'll be talking about that. The other thing we have on our agenda is we'll have some discussions about the airport. Mr. Kaplan was here, and Bill Vedino will be working with us, and so we'll have some updates on that. And, lastly, not so much land use, but in case nobody read the paper, and I'm sure we all did, 45 people signed up for the Ramsey class on the first one, and it was exciting to see that happen, and I thought I'd bring that up at this point instead at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Okay, Finance, Economic Development, and Regional Affairs, Fedric.
Well, he's not here, so the next meeting for finance will be October 22nd at 5 PM.
All right, thank you. Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, Councilmember Assefa Dawson.
I think he was going to report on.
Oh, Councilmember McDaniel, did you have a brief report on Fedric?
Yeah, I'll do it real quick. We met on September 24th. We forwarded 8 items to the consent agenda for approval, including the vouchers, 2 items on PD, 2 items for IT. We also have forwarded on to tonight's business the tourism agenda, and our next FedRAC meeting will be on October 22nd at 5 PM in council chambers.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, Councilmember Assefa Dawson?
Yeah, I don't have anything to report on, except that we have, there's a presentation going to be happening later on, so that's it. But about financial literacy, we're also working with Fusion and, the other one, Al Volante.
Mujer Al
Mujer
Volante.
Al Volante. And so that's also another exciting news that's happening for the people who are not going to be attending the Dave Ramsey. So what we're trying to do is collaborate with nonprofits so that we have a targeted population that we could actually go after and still open it to the general public. But at least we can serve people who are being served by these other organizations. And so they're willing to partner with us, and that's really great news. So thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, Regional Committees report, Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. SCA has a call out for nominations. If you're interested on being on a committee or board next year in 2025, you need to apply by Thursday at the end of the business day, October 17th. And if you're looking for more information, an email came out last Thursday from Leah Willoughby from SCA, and that will have all of the positions that are potentially open, and will explain what all those committees and boards do and when they meet, because most of them meet in the daytime, which is for those people who are unable to attend daytime meetings, that might be an issue. There's a PIC meeting on Wednesday, October 9th, which is online only this month from 7 to 9 p.m. Any council member is welcome to join and listen. We will be talking about the Rapid Ride Prioritization Plan. We had talked about Metro's, I think it's a 50-year plan on how they're going to get rapid ride buses around the county. And so they're going to be talking about that plan. Public Health Environmental Services Division rates, hazardous rates management program rates. Hazardous rates management program rates, that's exactly what it said. And we will be appointing a nominating committee to decide who will be on these boards and commissions. So that is from 7 to 9 on Wednesday, October 9th. I also attended the ribbon cutting at Paul Mitchell School. I got there a little bit early, and they have 75 to 100 students there. And I felt kind of weird, because I'm so old and they're so young and so beautiful. But very excited. They had a lot of energy. I also attended the after-hours chamber event at Global Credit Union, and that is such an amazing group of people who work there. The manager we call her Kimmy, And she's been in our community for years and years doing volunteer work, and she's just amazing.
And did you know that I knew Kimmy when she was a teenager in Lakewood?
Did you really?
Yeah, my
my
older
gosh.
brother, Phil and Debbie, lived right next to her parents. And my older brother taught her how to drive.
Oh, she's an amazing person.
Yeah, she really is. Yeah, it's really fun.
And don't forget coffee with council and school board.
Awesome. It's a small world, isn't it?
Yeah, one
Yeah.
more thing. I forgot. Okay, the senior commission is sponsoring the senior reading program. We're partnering with the Federal Way Public Schools to read to elementary school students beginning this fall. For more information, call 253-835-2401, which goes straight to our admin, Amy, who's sitting in the back of the room, and she will put your name down and get you registered. And you do have to go through the school district's, permission to be in their schools. But that's a really exciting program. We have a lot of people who've already signed up, which means a lot of different classes will have people reading to them.
All right, thank you. Council President.
Maybe Councilmember Hondo or Amy would know, since Hurricane Helene hit Tampa Bay first this last week, I'm wondering if NLC will be affected, since we're all planning on going to the conference in mid-November, but maybe we should find out. They're okay. They're okay, that's good. Okay, and just one thing, we've been talking a lot about volunteerism this meeting. I've had a lot of people over the years who've talked to me about how do you run for office, how do you run for city council, and I said, there is no book, there is no class, there's nothing you can find out. You just simply jump in and volunteer. And so if you're ever interested in running for any office or getting involved, the very first thing you do is volunteer. Volunteer in your school, volunteer in your church, join a commission, but the real key is being passionate about something and volunteering. And Mayor, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your brother, how he's being honored.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, I was going to go to the installation at the Kiwanis tomorrow, but my sister-in-law and my niece showed me a picture. My older brother passed away in April from in the line of duty death as a Tacoma firefighter after 33 years of service. And as a result of his work with the fire department, he contracted cancer, multiple myeloma, which is a common cancer that firefighters, because of long-term exposure to chemicals. Anyway, there is a memorial for all fallen firefighters with the city of Tacoma on the Tacoma waterfront, and they just added his brick yesterday. And so we're going to go down as a family and honor him. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 8, consent agenda. These items have gone through committee and can be passed all at once. I'll ask to see if a council member wants an item pulled for separate consideration. Item A, the minutes for the September 17th, 2024 regular and special meeting minutes. B, monthly financial report, July 24. Monthly financial report, August 2024. Item D, AP vouchers, July 16th, 2024 through 8/15/2024. And payroll vouchers, 7/1/24 through 7/31/24. Item E, AP vouchers, August 16th, 2024 through 9/15/24. And payroll vouchers, 8/1/24 through 8/31/24. Item F, Presidential Inaugural Task Force Memorandum of Understanding. Item G, Washington Department of Commerce Law Enforcement Pursuit Tech Grant. Item H, replacement computers and computer peripherals. Item I, Motorola Solutions Flex 5-year maintenance agreement. Council, are there any items you would want pulled for separate consideration? All right, Council President Coachman.
Mayor, I move approval of consent agenda items A through I.
Second.
It's been a motion, a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All of the matters passed. Thank you. Item 9, council business, and they passed unanimously for the record. Council business, item A, Tourism Enhancement Grant Award Recommendation, 2024, presentation from Tanya Carter, our Economic Development Director.
Good evening, Mayor, Council President Kochmar, and Council members. Tanya Carter, your Economic Development Director. Here tonight to present what the Lodging Tax Committee deliberated on at the last meeting, which are the Lodging Tax Tourism Enhancement Grants. So there are 6 grants that we will be discussing this evening. And the policy question before you is, should the City Council approve LTAX recommendations for the 2024 Tourism Enhancement Grants? So the first 4 presentations, these are all in your packets. The applications, I believe everyone has also reviewed, so we will just go through quickly. And then the last 2, we have a little bit more detailed presentations, which was at the request of the FedRAC committee when we presented. So the first tourism grant, I won't go through all of these. It's quite clear on the first 4 slides. It is the dates of the event, the amount requested, the projected overnight stays, and the projected attendees. Miss Washington Volunteer Pageant, they've been here several times, and it's been quite successful. The Seattle Sports Commission, Federal Way has a seat on the Seattle Sports Commission, and as we discussed before, this is the annual membership. Having the membership on the Seattle Sports Commission allows Federal Way and the Aquatic Center to bid on national events, as well as other events at the Aquatic Center, which is what follows on the next 2 slides. The first is the NC2A Division I Men's and Women's Swim and Dive Championships. That is a national event. It's going to be held next March at the Aquatic Center. And as we've mentioned before, it's nationally covered by ESPN. And there are many athletes, and it is quite a highly visible event in the collegiate sports world. Also, a similar event, smaller, is the Big 12 Swim and Dive Championships, and that is going to be essentially the week and a half before the NC2A Championships, and all of the stats are here. And then the last 2, these have a little bit more extensive presentation. This Visitor Enhancement Destination Promotion Plan, as well as the PAC. So I will go through this briefly. I believe you all have seen it in your packets. And then if Mayor or Council can advise if we should stop if there's discussion questions on any of these 4 previous ones, or if we should just go through the whole thing and then have questions later.
Just go through all.
Okay.
Please.
So what's in a number? 1.25 million. Keep that in mind as you are going through this presentation. So the challenges that this Visitor Enhancement and Destination Promotion Plan is aiming to address is essentially the following 4. Getting Federal Way on the map, which, as everyone knows, is really what economic development is working towards. Activating areas to increase safety and resiliency, increasing the length of visitor stays, and then also increasing, because of these extended visitor stays, the business revenue through visitor spending. I won't go through this in detail, but essentially the way that we would address this is kind of threefold. The first is to promote. So basically building a repository of assets that we have and promoting those assets in various venues, sales channels, conferences, et cetera. The second is leveraging our venues and events. So basically creating packages and really working together to understand what are our assets, who uses our assets, and how can we incrementally increase the use of those. Activating business neighborhoods and places. Again, statistically, activating and providing more activity really promotes safety and resiliency. And there are definitely studies out there that show that increasing social interaction in cities reduces crime. So, the burning question, I'm sure, in everyone's mind, why we aren't a tourism destination? Just to kind of share, there are many, many types of tourism. So not to go into a whole dissertation on that, but essentially there is cruise tourism, there is religious tourism, there is sports tourism, there is actually business tourism. And so kind of focusing on that a little bit, business tourism is actually what Federal Way is known for. So a large percentage of the hotels are booked on a regular basis, kind of generally from like Sunday to Wednesday or Monday to Thursday with business travelers. as we've mentioned before, between Auburn, Kent, and Federal Way, we have not even 2,000 hotel rooms. And if you think of how many businesses we have, and especially the fact that we're in close proximity to the Kent Valley, that has, huge aerospace industry down there, having 2,000 hotel rooms in 3 cities is not a lot. For comparison, SeaTac has over 6,000. So essentially, business tourism is about 40% of the tourism numbers that we have here in Federal Way, and that is really what we are looking to focus on, is incrementally increasing our tourism stays, which means we have captive audience of people that stay here in Federal Way. And so it's not a matter of attracting new tourists, which is a lot more expensive, but it's how do we get the tourists to have attractive visitor experiences that will encourage them either to come on a day earlier or stay a day later when they're already here, they know Federal Way, they're familiar with the area, and they just, potentially we'd ideally have them having an incremental increase in spending. So ultimately, as we increase the visitor experience, what we can start to see is if there is a possibility for a demand driver, which a demand driver is essentially something that, if you're looking for somewhere to go, you say, hey, I want to go to this city because they have this thing. So that in the future, would be aspirational. Right now, it's quite manageable to enhance the visitor experience for existing tourists and travelers. So won't go into detail on this, but essentially there's 6 points here. How do we attract our kind of tourists, which again, really focusing on what our tourism base really is right now, which is business tourism, about 40 to, depending on the year, 40 to 50%, and then the balance is various types of leisure tourism. So this is the program that was submitted to the Lodging Tax Committee that we discussed in the question and answer for the Lodging Tax Review. Again, I won't go into detail because I'm sure there'll be questions, but there are 5 different areas that we would focus on. One thing here that's really important to share is that the city of Federal Way has never, from any organization, had any kind of a tourism marketing program for the city. So a lot of what you see here is kind of setting the stage and really setting the base. As that's really what economic development has been investing the last couple of years in, is really kind of building a base that we can then analyze and iterate and work towards improving year on year. So very briefly, engaging a destination management sales team. This sales team goes to events all around the country all throughout the year, and they basically are selling to convention planners, meeting planners, et cetera. They're also at destination trade shows where they're selling destinations to travel agencies or OTAs, online travel agencies, who are looking for products that they can basically sell to people looking to recreate or tour or visit. Recreating the city tourism website. Essentially, we were funded by council through ARPA for just putting the skeleton back together for our Visit Federal Way website, but what that didn't include was kind of the ongoing iteration of packages and products and things that we are constantly creating or things that are constantly happening here in the city, as well as including campaigns. So if we have marketing campaigns, the creation of landing pages and such, so that we can actually conduct those campaigns and have somewhere for people to land and read more about whatever it is that we're promoting. Digital marketing campaign, pretty straightforward. Playster AI engagement. Some of you know about this tool. It's a really incredible tool, extremely powerful. It uses apps on people's phones. It's 100% anonymous, but what that will allow us to do is, for example, our 4th of July at Celebration Park. With this technology, we will be able to see how many, not exact people, but what numbers were coming to Celebration Park for the 4th of July, where were they coming from, like what percentage came from home, what percentage came from Home Depot, what percentage came from restaurants, and then not only will we be able to see that, but we'll be able to see where they left and went to. So how many went to, go out to dinner, how many went dancing, how many went, to a hotel overnight. That is an incredibly powerful tool, again, for us to start understanding who do we want to talk to, how do we want to talk to them, and what can we talk to them that's appealing and interesting for them. So it's incredibly powerful tool, and I know several departments are very interested also in being able to see this. And then lastly, partially funded tourism staff position, and here we would be flexible, obviously depending on budget. That would either be a consultant or PTE or some variation thereof. And again, this is something the hotels are extremely excited about. They do need a lot of support, and they really are hopeful that this is going to happen. Lastly, measuring success. Again, we can't measure anything yet until we have campaigns that are set up, but these are the types of statistics that we would measure and report back to the Lodging Tax Committee. And this, of course, is how we would determine, which is kind of the great thing about digital marketing these days. It's not like you put something up on a billboard and you just kind of hope for the best that people are going to see it, and hopefully your people are going to see it. Now with digital marketing, what we can do is we can specifically target our target audience, and we can more or less real-time iterate. So if we see that numbers and interest on something that we're promoting isn't working, we can very quickly switch and maintain that investment to, adjust it to something that might be more appealing to that audience. So that's really, here what these numbers will be showing is us kind of learning how to communicate with our tourists and travelers. Lastly, what's in a number? I think you may have seen at the beginning of the presentation, 1.25 million is actually how many tourists Federal Way has in a year. And roughly calculated, we believe that it's about $80 a day that a tourist or visitor will spend here, not on hotel-related things. And if you multiply that out, that's a lot of annual spend. So that's what we are looking to do, is capture more of that. And with that, I will turn it over to my colleague Autumn, who will share a few slides about the Performing Arts Center, Performing Arts and Event Center application as well.
Good evening, Mayor, Council President Kochmar, council members. Autumn Gressett, Contract Administrator and Community Relations Liaison. As Tanya mentioned, the other application before you tonight is in regards to the Federal Way Performing Arts and Event Center and a tourism marketing grant for them. The project overview is to simply increase overnight stays and economic activity directly related to the Performing Arts and Event Center, boosting hotel occupancy, increasing patronage through tourism, and then also establishing Federal Way and the PAC as a cultural and event destination. Some of the proposed marketing plan includes geo-targeted digital ads such as social media, search engine marketing, social media campaigns, partnerships with additional regional tourism boards, proposed event packages that include the hoteliers and PAC events, as well as national event planner campaigns to put us back on the map with our proven success record with small to moderate mid-size conferences that bring in anywhere from 75 to 100 room nights for each one of those, which equates to about $15,000 to $50,000 to the PAC directly for spend. And then, unlike the city's broader regional campaign initiatives, this is directly targeting the PAC and including those hoteliers in that promotion of Federal Way as a destination, not just a regional attraction. One of the things that the PAC is looking to do with this marketing campaign is to set up the opportunity to drive additional revenue streams, different revenue streams than we've done in the past, and expand our national reach to additional event planners. Some of our measurements of success include tracking hotel room nights booked, event attendance, tourist origin tracking specifically for the PAC and the events that people come in for, partnership revenue growth, geo-targeted digital ads, marketing reach and engagement, media coverage and exposure, and then sales conversion rates for these conventions. And then with your support, we can create a compelling tourism marketing campaign that elevates the PAC, promotes the city, and ensures that more tourists choose Federal Way and the Performing Arts and Event Center as their conference destination. And I'm happy to answer any questions alongside Tanya.
All right, Council, any questions of Tanya or Autumn? Councilor McDaniel? What's that? Oh, okay. Councilmember Dovey?
I have a question. On the last one where we're talking $150,000 for the PAC,
Yes.
if that money wasn't budgeted, because it's part of the, it's in the budget, when we look at the budget reviews, we've gone through the 150,000 there. Would the PAC still do it?
We would not. One of the things that the PAC has suffered with in the past, and we came to council just before COVID hit, and unfortunately we had a pandemic, so it is what it is. But we came forward to council, and council passed to approve a marketing campaign like this, late 2019, moving into 2020, to do this very thing. And so with the way our budget is set up now, the marketing dollars are slim and are directed to specific events and local reach. It's something that we need to expand upon, but we don't have that in the current budget.
And the 150,000, is it for 1 year or 2 years? How would you go at this? Would it all be spent in the first 12 months? And if it's gone, would you do it again with your own money? I mean, not your own money, it's all city money, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking of you like you're a business, you're
Yeah.
an entity.
This is anticipated to be a 2025 spend and to set up and drive the revenue for future to be able to give us increased revenue to allow us to do this on our own or through revenues that are coming in other directions, not necessarily a direct ask from.
So let me make sure I understood what you said. You would spend the money in 2025, and in 2026, you would spend it again, assuming that you brought the revenues up and you wouldn't come to the council and ask for it.
That is not our intent, to come to council and ask for additional LTAC funding.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Honda?
Thank you. On the tourism destination slide, you have Wild Waves, the Aquatic Center. Where did you get the number of annual visitors?
They're all from the venues themselves.
And are these recent numbers?
Yes, within the last 3-4 months.
Thank you.
Can we go back to that slide?
Sure.
Okay, so these numbers came from them.
Correct. We had original numbers from previous when I was not here, and then I sent all the numbers to the respective venues and asked if that was accurate. Some of them made adjustments, and some of them left them the way they were.
All right. Councilor W.
I have a question on that. I mean, I look at the Wild Waves, and that's a huge spread for not knowing if 200,000 people came in. Is that the way I read it? It's between, they don't know their number, or they just gave us an estimate?
They give us an estimate, and I mean, they're a private business, so I mean, there may be reasons why they choose not to give exact numbers.
So should we really use, when we do our calculation, 500,000, because that's the low one?
That's what I do.
It just, because whatever the $100 million was, I mean, we might want to ratchet it down, so when we give this presentation, we're not selling the skyscraper, we're only going up to the 30th floor.
Sure, so I think I heard that just putting the minimum numbers on
I
those
mean,
two. Okay, sure.
That's a big delta for somebody to, let us 200,000, that's twice the population of Federal Way.
Sure.
Okay.
Point well taken. Brian, would you like to weigh in?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to get back to Councilmember Dovie's question about staff coming back to the council, asking for more tourism or for more LTAC money. That's not our hope, but it's likely that we will. That after the first year of marketing it, we don't anticipate that there will magically be a replenishment of those funds that will necessitate us no longer needing to come to the council to ask for LTAC funding. And then secondly, LTAC funding, when the PAC was studied as part of the Blue Ribbon panel, one of the funding sources that they identified at the time was LTAC funding, and this is the first time that we have, at least to my knowledge, that we have requested LTAC funding for the PAC. So whether it's this specific ask or other ones, we would anticipate coming back to the council for future LTAC funding. So I just want to be clear that this may not be the last time that we talk about LTAC funding regarding the PAC.
Do you have anything else you'd like to offer on this? Okay. Councilor Cefados?
Yeah, I also wanted to add to that there are 3 different categories, and correct me if I'm wrong. One being the tourism promotion and marketing, there's operation of special events. And then the third category is actually capital expenditures of tourism-related facility owned by municipality or a public facilities district. So we are a municipality, and this does fall under that. And so when we reviewed this and talked about it, the committee didn't see a problem funding this, and it supports what the PAC is meant to do. It supports what we're here for, because the PAC is here, and we do want to support their operations. So I really think the council should support this. Again, support the proposal, but also with the understanding that this is an eligible proposal under the guidelines that we have for LTAC.
May I add a comment to, so I think in addition to what Councilmember Seffa Dawson said, to put context around what the Lodging Tax Committee is, it's made in the city of Federal Way of two kind of sides of the coin, if you will. There are up to 3 committee members that are recipients of the hotel lodging tax money, and then there are 3 on the committee that are the actual givers of the money, so the hotels who generate that. So these hotels and these recipients, they're the ones that actually have put forth these applications, so that the organizations that pay for this, essentially, that generate this money, have said that they also agree with the applications.
All right, thank you. Councilor Adobe?
I have one more, two more comments of what we have here. The presentation you just put together, I kind of wish we'd had this presentation because at our FEDERAC meeting, because it's very clear and concise what's going on here. Where when we had this presentation at FEDERAC, it wasn't as clear and concise in my mind to make the decision. The other piece I would think that we would want to see, since we're in budget, if we're going to ask for this again in 2026, I guess it is, that should be in the budget for 300,000 and an earmark that says if this is a total non-success, we're not going to fund it. Because we're setting ourselves up to have this meeting, who's ever on the council in 2026, to say, oh, wait a minute, we did this and it worked great, but it's not in the budget. So I think we're being disingenuous with what we're doing if we only ask for 150 instead of 300. With the caveat that says, if this doesn't work, because we're in the world of digital and you're talking about AI and you're talking about tracking, we'll know if it works or not real quick. But so I guess what I'm saying is the last part here of the pack, from my standpoint, that might want to be in the budget deliberations, because I don't believe 150 is the number based on what I just saw. It's really 300. And what it should be in my mind, if I was voting on this, I would vote against it because it's not forward-thinking enough to have 2 years' budget, because we have a biennium budget. And you said you're going to spend 150 in the first year. So anyway.
Well, that's because the application, isn't it?
Well,
the application was for a year.
Yeah, but the application might be for a year, but what I just heard, it's going to come up again.
Can I make
Yeah.
a clarification on that?
Anyway, that's just my comment.
Yeah.
So the way it works is an application is put forth to the Lodging Tax Committee, and the application was for 1 year, and the Lodging Tax Committee approved it for 1 year. There was also a discussion about, maybe 2 years, but the request from the Lodging Tax Committee was, hey, keep us updated, with reports on a regular basis, and then in October, come back and apply again. But an application has, or money, in order to receive the money, an application has to be submitted. It can't be just budgeted. But I do believe, and I'll refer to or defer to law, I do believe that council can push it back for deliberation, but not necessarily for raising the amount.
Okay, thank you for the explanation.
Yeah, what is proposed for you is just to approve the application regardless of the budget which you'll approve. To your point, if you wanted to set aside an additional 150 for next year in the budget, you could. Tanya's saying that we would have to go and get the application and get the LTAC to approve it, and then you would approve it. But for budgeting purposes, you could add that to the budget. That's not a problem.
For the second year. Okay, all right. All right, Councilmember Honda?
Thank you. So I've really had to think about this because to me, LTAC money has always been tied to heads and beds. And I know that there have been applications that have not been accepted for LTAC funding because they didn't have enough heads and beds. And so I've really had to struggle with this. It just doesn't fit into what I've been, told many times before. So, and I asked this question before, if we can use LTAC money on something that the city owns, which is a tourist destination. Dumas Bay is a tourist destination. Dumas Bay needs a lot of work done on it. We will never have the funding to do the work that needs to be done. can this LTAC funding be used at Dumas Bay also?
But that's a capital expenditure.
I'm just asking the question.
Okay.
It could be. An application could be submitted by staff for Dumas Bay for something. Dumas Bay, just to be clear for context, a hotel has to have 90 rooms or more in order to contribute to the lodging tax. So it wouldn't be contributing if it did generate heads and beds, but to your point, it is a municipally owned facility that does, have a tourism benefit. So it would qualify, it would qualify.
Well, the PAC doesn't have any beds.
Correct, but I was just clarifying if
Okay.
there was, for context, yeah.
Okay.
But absolutely, there could be an application, and we have actually discussed that as well, so.
Thank you.
For events, but not for capital. You wouldn't use LTAC for capital expenses, would you?
Supporting operation and capital is one of the three classifications.
I'm sorry?
Supporting, right here, number 3 is supporting operations and capital expenditures of tourism-related facilities owned by or operated by municipalities. It's one of the legitimate ones.
All right, Councilmember McDaniel, did you have a?
I'd wait to go last since I have quite a bit. And
Okay,
I have
Councilmember
one more.
Dovey, then Councilmember Walsh.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I have one more question. Councilmember Honda brings up a good point. If we're gonna spend the money to drive people into the PAC to get heads and beds in all the other hotels and using this technology of AI and marketing and digital, maybe we should have the Dumas Bay think about applying for driving weddings and doing other things.
That's what I was, yeah.
Like the PAC's doing to bring heads and beds, and that's a great idea. Maybe not, it's not capital, but we could do the same, but they could do the same type of potential marketing that the technology brings them if they applied.
We have discussed that, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but I know just from chatting with Autumn and Davey that they are quite, I think, almost at 90% occupancy for the year. So, I mean, the staff there has done an incredible job on recruiting, but that would also, just for context, be part of the destination sales team's assets that they would sell as well. So if there was any incremental desire, to fill that, extra 10% that's still vacant, then that would be on the docket for the destination sales team to promote as well.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Walsh?
Yeah, it seems to me, I mean, I would love to see Dumas Bay benefit from it, but one challenge that I see is if the LTAC committee would go for it, because Dumas Bay could produce heads and beds, but it would be at Dumas Bay, not at the hotels.
Which is fine. It's just, it's still a tourism-operated facility, or it's a facility that.
But with the hotel votes on the committee, on the commission, would they be willing to, it seems to me as though it'd be doubtful if they would be willing to put something towards Dumas Bay when it's not filling beds in their own facilities.
I understand, and I obviously can't speak fully for the committee. I do also think it's worth mentioning that heads and beds is a very concrete black and white number, and obviously that is something, that is a really easy statistic to monitor, but it's a little bit more than that, and it's a little bit more nuanced, and maybe not, a discussion for right now, but if it attracts tourism, there are also, side benefits that, hey, maybe someone is not, they're staying at Dumas Bay for a conference now, they experience Fed Away, they have a great time, and there's some activities that they partake in, and then they return later, and they then stay with their family, for an actual holiday or some kind of a trip. So there are kind of things that are multipliers that it's very hard to be concrete on. Heads and beds is, of course, something that's very concrete, but that's the idea, is if someone's coming from, as a tourist is defined, 50 miles or more away, if there's tourism marketing, for example, that would be attracting a tourist to the city, and it doesn't always necessarily equate one-to-one to, this campaign is gonna get a head and bed, but tourism marketing will attract tourists to the city who, then create multipliers.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember McDaniel?
Yeah, A couple items, actually. One of the main reasons why we're pulling this out, and I'll give credit to the city. This is definitely thinking outside the box. I've mentioned that in the FedRec meeting too. The main reason why I wanted to pull this aside and talk about it is I wanted to make sure that if we're going to start looking at that money as potential funding for city operations, that we need to be as wise as possible with it. These funds that come from this are restricted. They only have so many uses for them. But one of the things we had mentioned in previous meetings, and I don't know if it was parks or what, was, is the PAC actually presenting these opportunities to the events that come in there? Is it on the website? Is it handed out? Is it given to people so those guys who come into the city, who are bringing the tourism, actually get the benefit of what I thought the LTAC was for? I got educated in finding out what the 3 different classifications for it are, and I'm quite impressed, like I said, with how we used it. But the things that I'm having, the issues I'm having a problem with, is it the best utilization? We have $135,000 that are MOUs for events that are at the PAC, that I wonder, would they have been better suited to go through the LTAC? We have a bunch of funding stuff for the committees, the commissions. Again, I wonder if they're better funded through the LTAC. By doing that, by taking those MOUs and taking those potential commission budgets and sticking them under LTAC, whether they pass or not, not something we control, it's still an option. That frees up general funds. Those general funds can then have usage no matter, multiple uses. They're not restricted on how we can use it. So one of my big things was I feel like we went a little too quick on this. I've read the applications. I sat at the LTAC. I've talked to the financial department. I've talked to legal about it. I had conversations before we even had the FedRec meeting. The thing that really drew my attention to this was we have an application for $150,000. It was turned after my budget was written that shows the $150 in the budget. So I have no problem with the first 4, no problem whatsoever passing those, getting them out there. I just think that the economic development one and the Federal PAC one need to be reevaluated and seeing if that's the best request from LTAC and use of LTAC. The total amount is $400,000. LTAC on average brings in about $300,000. So if we're going to tap this and we're going to all of a sudden, and if we do this once, it is on every budget from here on out. I'm not going to even play the game. And I made the comment earlier, this is my only budget maybe. My term ends next year, so this might be the only budget I get to play with, the only budget I get to ask questions on and get answers to from the professionals who actually have that information. And pushing this through right now, in my mind, I don't know if it's the best solution, the best way to do it. I think there's a better way to do it and a more sophisticated way that benefits the city long-term. So that was mostly my pushback on these, is that I think it's too much money going to consultants. I would have that money go to economic development to hire an employee who can do outreach for businesses and do the tourism. We can't do that with this money. We are giving money to a bunch of contractors, yay or nay on that one, depending on what the results are on that one. And for the PAC, like I said, the big one on that one is when I look at the PAC, I've looked at the pages on page 80 with the fund. I've looked at page 125 that actually talks about the PAC, and I look at this packet. Every single one of them had a different price point for the number of tickets that are going to be sold over the next 2 years. It would be great to know what number is most accurate. And I want the PAC to succeed, but I need to understand what the PAC is capable of doing. And giving us numbers that are 200% or whatever it was increase in sales is putting us up for failure. I'd rather look at it and say, okay, what can we do with the PAC? How can we make that a success? And if it means that instead of giving money through the general fund, the city starts paying for all the events, everybody starts paying for the events to bring in revenue stream for it, I'm more open to looking at those kind of options. My pushback is not on the package you guys put together, because I thought they were pretty impressive. My pushback is I don't think it's the most beneficial way of utilizing this new revenue stream that we've decided to tap into. And as soon as we tap into it, I do not think we'll go back. I think we will be looking at it for the rest of our time. But if we're going to look at it, then I think we need to look at it for, does it make sense for MOUs? Does it make sense for commission budgets? Does it make sense for other things that may use up that resource and then free up general funds for a more open and robust usage of the money? So that's my 2 cents on that. Thank you.
So I made some notes. I probably didn't capture
let's go
all
for
of your thoughts, but if I may just provide a little feedback or information, I guess, on that. As far as a new revenue stream, this is a very common use for cities to do this. The two cities I was at previously, we did the exact same thing, and there are numerous other cities in King County that use the funds exactly for that. So it's actually a very common use, and by Federal Way never having done anything like this, and Federal Way now starting, we now are becoming competitive in the landscape with other cities who have been doing this for many, many years. So it is a very standard thing for cities to do, to use these funds. As far as the marketing goes, and I can let Autumn speak to your PAC questions as well, but as far as the marketing goes, the hotels have been demanding this for several years. So again, it's something that many other cities do, and so the hotels keep asking, when are we doing this? When are we doing this? We really need this. So it's something that is desired, and the multiplier here is that it's I guess for lack of better terms, an event is great, but an event is kind of like, give a man a fish for a day, right? So there's one event, it comes, and it may come again, may not come again. But for the city marketing, what that's doing is it's actually, promoting Federal Way as a destination over time to those multipliers. So it's promoting it to online travel agencies, to travel agencies, to, other organizations that will bring, meetings and conferences here year after year. As far as events at the PAC, there are several resident artist groups that have events, for example, the Harmony Kings, that do come for funding on a regular basis. And so organizations are very much aware of the funding that's there. And I think I mentioned at FEDRAC as well, at a previous city that I was at, I invested over $10,000 to promote the tourism grant program, and with $10,000 promotion of that program, we only were able to garner one additional event. And so that's not really a sustainable strategy for bringing in a constant pipeline or building a pipeline of tourism to the city. And then I think you had also asked previously about what are other things at the city that could be kind of shifted over to the lodging tax, and it would really just be Celebration Park, Dumas Bay, and the Performing Arts Center. Those would really be the three, and we're talking about one of them right now. We've talked about Dumas Bay as well, and I think Celebration Park has been kind of on and off in conversations over the years. So those would be the only three really that would kind of qualify for any kind of support from tourism.
Like I said, I agreed, and I started off with saying it was a smart move. But again, it comes down to I'll use the word system instead of government. The system designs a tax. It takes the tax from hotels. It puts that money into a box. It says, hotels, you can vote on it. Then it says, hey, we're going to ask for the money out of that box. Please vote for it. I have a real problem with that being like an automatic. I understand it's legal, but there's a letter of the law and I think it's the intent or the understanding of the law. My understanding was this was designed to help events to coming to the city. Now, can it legally be used for the other things? The answer is yes, but my mindset is it should be used as much as possible for events first. You made the comment about spending money beforehand. The line item that we have on page 62 underneath your department for this particular item spent $65,000 last year of $300,000. So I have 164 with 150, so we have more money being spent, but the money that's being spent is being utilized into city requests. Again, I said it's legit, it's legal. I'm just saying I think there's better uses because these funds have restrictions on them.
Okay, thank you. Council President Kochmar and then Councilmember Dovey.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't this money supposed to be coming from LTAC? And LTAC is only allowed, we don't make the decision, LTAC does. And that's set up so that you have the three and the three, the grantee and the grantor, and they make the decision. It comes to us for, we don't make that decision. It's been made. And so that's their recommendation. And that's how this whole thing was set up legislatively. We don't make that choice. If I'm wrong, tell me.
All right, Councilmember Dovey.
Yeah, I got a clarifying question and a comment. The reason I think that my comment is because predecessors before you were here put money aside into LTAC, so we have a bucket of money that we would normally not have because we only get $300,000 a year. So when we think about it, we're spending the money that was put in there for economic development to save of the 400,000. So once we start doing this, that money's going to be gone in a couple of years if we keep at this rate. because we're basically spending the reserves that were put in there. But along the question that Paul asked, and maybe I don't understand it, and maybe somebody can clarify it, but if we're using the MOUs or whatever, where we voted not too long ago to let the different performing arts centers go to our PAC, and we're basically paying the PAC out of our own budget, about 135,000. So the question I have is, and maybe we can't do it, but if we were to use LTAC money to pay for those MOUs, if you could do it, or that letting the people use the PAC at no charge, then that would free up that same amount of money to do something else. It's the same, and I don't know if I'm not an expert, but I think I hear what you're saying, Paul, and it kind of makes sense to me, but I don't know if it's legal.
Yeah, but we have to have an agreement with this is about their ability to work with the city. Autumn, do you have something that you want to contribute?
My only comment to that was, when we brought the MOUs forth, we didn't ask the city or the general fund for any additional funding. We were able to figure out how can we fit that within the existing budget, even as we looked out to 25. And one of the things that we have consistently talked about with the resident artists is, it is our duty and our job to figure out where that next round of funding comes from, so we're actively attacking grants. But the reality is that even if we shifted it, then your question earlier of, could you do this marketing? Either way, something's going to hit the general fund. So I think taking the MOUs and flopping them into LTAC and then moving towards a marketing into general fund is spending the same amount of money, just differently for optics. And so it's the same dollar amount that we've committed to.
I understand it's the
Okay.
same dollar amount, it's just, to me, it's more flexible.
I hear you.
Is there a motion?
There is.
Councilmember
Yeah.
McDaniel?
I'm actually going to break the motion up because I like to vote my mind, so I'm going to actually make a couple motions just to move this forward. So, first motion, since this is listed on our sheet as one, but I have it listed as A, B, C, D, E, F, should I just name them out as I
Yes,
go them?
you should
Okay.
name them out.
So I move approval of approval of the proposed Miss Washington Volunteer, Seattle Sports Commission, Washington State University, and Big 12 Conference Tourism Enhancement Grants award recommendations.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been a motion and a second to approve those identified items. Is there any discussion on those? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, those are, those have passed unanimously. All right, Councilmember McDaniel?
All right, I'll make another motion then. I move the approval of the Economic Development Tourism Marketing Grant Award recommendation.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay.
Councilmember Safadatsin?
Aye.
Councilmember McDaniel?
Nay.
Councilmember Honda?
Nay.
Councilmember Walsh?
Aye.
Councilmember Dovey?
Aye.
Council President Kochmar?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-2.
All right. And then, Councilmember McDaniel?
So the last motion, I have to ask a question to legal on this one. This is, since the PAC has been thrown into the budget as a budget item, can this be brought into the budget for conversation?
So this item is on tonight to approve a TEG grant.
Okay.
So this is not a budget discussion.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Can I ask a clarifying question before that?
Sure, of course.
But it's in the budget at 150,000, so why is it not a budget question?
When the budget comes around, you could approve that item or not, but you can't approve it tonight or disapprove the budget.
For the budget,
portion.
because the budget's
So,
not before the council.
They're two separate transactions.
Yeah.
It both has to be budgeted and also be approved as a TEG grant.
So there's two bites at the apple?
You have to say yes twice.
I mean, if it gets approved here, it could get knocked out in the budget, is that
Correct.
correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Honda?
I was just going to clarify that. So it could, whatever happens tonight during the budget discussions could be a different response.
I mean, logically, it doesn't make a lot of sense to do it that way,
Sure.
but yes, absolutely.
But,
So if it passes, you don't spend the money yet.
but we could have more of a robust discussion during the budget session.
Yep. All right, thank you. Councilor McDaniel?
All right. I move the approval of the Federal PAC proposed 2024 Tourism Enhancement Grant Award recommendation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been a motion, a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Councilmember Safadatson?
Aye.
Councilmember McDaniel?
Nay.
Councilmember Honda?
Nay.
Councilmember Walsh?
Aye.
Councilmember Dovey?
Nay.
Council President Kochmar?
Aye.
Tie vote, 3-3.
Motion fails.
Okay. All right, very good. Now we're on to item 10, ordinances, second reading and enactment, item A.
Mayor,
Autumn
don't you vote to break a tie?
Not on these, not on, excuse me, not on items appropriating money.
Okay. Autumn, I want to say thank you. Tanya, thank you very much. Great job. Okay, item 10, ordinances, second reading and enactment. Item A, Council Bill 885, ordinance revising Federal Way Revised Code 8.50.101, 010, parking residential vehicles on city streets. Would the city clerk please read the ordinance title again?
Council Bill 885, ordinance revising Federal Revised Code 850.010, parking recreational vehicles on city streets. An ordinance of the City of Federal Way, Washington relating to recreational vehicles parking on city streets, amending Federal Revised Code 850.010.
All right, Councilmember Dovey?
I move approval of the proposed ordinance.
Is there a
Second.
It's been a motion, a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Matter passes unanimously. Now we're on to council reports. I do want to say, Councilmember McDaniel and everybody involved, I actually thought that that was a very efficient conversation. Councilmember McDaniel, thank you very much for the mechanics of how you went through that motion. Made it very concise, the manner in which we did that, and very much appreciate your assistance on that. And essentially making the motion for something that you opposed and just getting up there. So I appreciate your help.
I just want to let you guys know I appreciate everybody who helps me. I mean, I learn a lot, and
Yeah, very
I
good.
plan on learning a lot more. Thank
Very
you.
good, thank you.
So I'm confused, though. What happens with the total take grant? Is
Okay.
it just 3 of the 4 that have been recommended? Is the 4th not? Is that what it is? 4.
5 out of the 6.
5 out of 6. So we've actually approved 5. Thank you.
Okay. But as far as me running, what I appreciate was just the mechanics of it, so it was good. All right, thank you. Not crazy about the result, but yeah, it is what it is. All right. Council reports?
We still have the budget to discuss.
That's right, that's right. So we are, first meeting of the month, which is Councilmember Sapadas in position number 1.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I wasn't here last week for this discussion, but I had a wonderful time, except for Hurricane Helene that actually impacted my vacation. Sad, right? No. But, but I did watch part of the, of last week's budget meeting, and at first, I'm like, Mayor didn't even excuse us, so I was a little sad, but then I found out that you did later on.
I did.
Later
yes,
on,
yes.
yeah. so-
I got wrestled to the floor to make sure I got that done.
so,
Yes.
But, yeah, that's all I have. to say.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Councilmember Daniel.
Yes. Hey, Ann, if you can hear me, come back in real quick. 2 things. One, last Friday, I spent time at the Link conference. It was very interesting. It is literally about gang violence in our society and schools, guns, everything. I listened to quite a few speakers talk about the engagement they're having and what's going on with the society. And they usually work with 3 percenters, which is the youth who is immediate expulsions. They've got gang activity. They've done some time. At one point of the conference was a get-together and a round talk where I would say about 30 youth were there at the convention as part of their requirements. And they talked about the highs and lows of the week and stuff like that. And to hear most of them express their feelings of just being alive is a big thing. And I know a lot of vets there was more kids who were shot in that room than I know vets out there. So it's a very interesting issue that we're working on. And I do know they're actually going to have some money budgets coming up pretty soon. And the second thing was an item I actually had talked to Mayor Farrell about earlier. On Saturday, I was driving through the city and I saw a couple who was definitely intoxicated on something with a baby. And I did what I thought I could. I called my mayor. I didn't have the chief of police. I would have called you. I called 911. I left a message. I sat around until they saw me watching them and left. And I know legally, if I do anything, I will be the one in trouble on that one. I don't know what we have in our police force or safety department or whatever we want to call it that could actually help something like that. 2 parents blown out of their mind, barely able to walk, standing, just horrible, and a kid in a stroller, like a toddler, just looking at having a great time in his life. I don't want to see those 2 in jail. I don't want to see that kid sitting in CPS, something like that. So I will have, I'd like to know, and I'm going to look at trying to figure some way of putting in the budget of what kind of services or what kind of system do we have for those people. It's not a police officer of mine. It has to be something different, and I don't know what that is at the moment, but that's definitely something I'd like to have an answer to. 2 parents completely out of their minds, on drugs, in the street with a child. What do we do?
Chief?
If officer encountered that situation and the officer determined that the parents were unable to care for the child, we would just take the child into protective custody, involve CPS.
So call 911. I think that's the, yeah, thank you very much. Okay, thank you. And thank you for caring about that and doing that. Councilmember Honda?
Thank you. A couple things. There is a food drive going on. Senior Helpers is a new business in Federal Way. I think they've been here maybe a year. And they're located on First Avenue, 32717 First Avenue South, Suite 7. It's down at the end. It's right across from where the new townhouses are being built. They are having a food drive for seniors, and all donations will be taken to the local senior centers and food banks that benefit seniors. It will end in the end of October, so we only have, it started in August to the end of October. They're asking for canned food, non-perishables, dry cereals, dry rice, noodles, and beans. We often hear that, seniors need support with food, and this is a great way to help support that. Another reminder, coffee with council and the school board, Saturday. We want to see the place full. Bring hygiene items for the schools. The Super Supper is a great time to support an organization that does amazing work here in the city of Federal Way. 5:30 to 8 at Christian Faith Center, $40 a person. I had a phone call from someone this afternoon who wanted to talk to me about the Win phone that the Parks Commission has been talking about, and I know our Parks Committee had talked about that. I'd like to bring it back to the Parks Committee. I think it needs to be discussed again. And the Seroptimus Club, of which I'm a member, is having a fundraiser Saturday, October 5th at North Point. It's called Blingo. Tickets are $60. The money will go to support scholarships for women, and we support women and children in other ways here in Federal Way with coats and food and Halloween and Christmas and all sorts of stuff. So if you're interested, let me know. I would also like to ask if we could get an update on the shower and changing rooms at the community center, and how the construction is going on rebuilding the changing rooms. There's been some chatter on Facebook that sounds like some folks are pretty upset. So I was wondering if we could get an update on that maybe at our next meeting.
Sure. Stephanie, let's put it on for presentations.
Thank
And
you.
then, John, make sure that you and Leaf can, and make sure Jason and Leaf are here.
Thank
Anybody
you.
else that's necessary.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome, of course. All right, Councilmember Walsh.
I don't have much of a report. I'm need to be at the airport at about 4:30 in the morning for a 6 o'clock flight.
Oh.
And I will unfortunately be missing the On Saturday, the coffee, then, and.
More importantly, you're going to miss Blingo.
And Blingo, yes. And the LUTC meeting on Monday. I will be here Tuesday for the Parks Committee meeting. So.
Where are you going?
Going down to Texas to see family, to see daughter and some grandkids, and also my sister that lives there. So.
Very good. Councilmember Dovey.
I have nothing really to report other than I thought the community coming out to the Taste of Federal Way was exciting. It was fun to see everybody. It's just kind of like a melting pot of Federal Way, which is really good.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure everybody knows, I will not be at the 22nd meeting. I'll still be out of country, and I leave Wednesday, and I won't be back until about the 24th. But I will try to do my best to call in, assuming there's internet, where I'm going for the 15th meeting.
Very good. Okay, thank you very much. Council President.
I think he's going to be way too close to Lebanon, so
Yeah.
a lot of stuff going on down there right now.
Well, I'm not going to Lebanon, but close to it.
Close to it.
Close enough for horseshoes.
Just want to thank you for this evening for Diana. That was very important to recognize the people in our community who really built our city. I do want to remember that we were just talking about the 2AA diving championships at the Aquatic Center, that Mike Dunwitty has been very important in implementing that over the years, and he's going to be retiring at the end of this year. So we could just put it on the calendar through Parks that we would do something to honor what he's worked there for, I think, over 31 years.
Yeah, since the Goodwill Games.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Right. That was, I couldn't think of it when the retired sergeant was talking. It was the Goodwill Games in 1990. Okay, so we are, we'll do executive session. Ryan, how long do you think? Half an hour, 30 minutes. So that's exactly, we've got 40 minutes, so let's not, we don't need a motion to extend the time. We'll just need to get out here in a hurry. We have executive session pursuant to item A, sale or lease of property pursuant to RCW 4230-1101C. Item B, property acquisition pursuant to RCW 4230-1101B. Item C, collective bargaining pursuant to RCW 4230-1404B. All right, and then we'll be in recess for that purpose for exactly 30 minutes. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Jack, grab something right here.
All right, a quorum of the council being present, we are completed with executive session, and the regular city council meeting is adjourned.